All right, well, welcome everybody. Our good buddy Sid will not be joining us today. He is under the weather, and we're all hoping for the best for him. He's feeling pretty bad, so he didn't want to go down to the studio today. And I'm ensconced here in the office, my office, uh, and ready to chat about personal projects and how important I think personal projects are to not only your own sanity as a photographer, but also to your business as a photographer. Personal projects are incredibly important. What's going on there, Mark? Trying to get the color balance?
Yeah, every time I turn this thing on, it's always yellow. I figured out the trick of holding up a white card and give it a few seconds and then it fixes it.
Oh, that's cool.
It can't make me look good, but at least I'm not yellow.
Oh, there you go. That's something.
Got to take what I can get, right?
That's right. That's something. All right. Okay, well, personal projects, I think, are something that are that you invest time, energy, money, assets, everything into. They can be very short. They can be done over time. I've seen personal projects be as short as something, someone shot in a day, to something that somebody's been working on for 10 years. So personal project does a lot of things. It gets your brain going, for one thing, gets your mind set. So you're starting to look for photographs, look for ideas because you've got the project going. It also helps you create a body of work of something, whether it's portraits of surfers, whether it's specific kinds of foods or food truck drivers or whatever it is that you're doing. It helps you define a little bit more how everything ties together, and you start to look for things like color and design and textures, etc., to bring all that stuff together. And it's really, really a great way for photographers to build up more work in their portfolio and a much sharper view of the world. Personal projects are the things that art directors generally look at first. I know it's hard to believe, and it's probably more in the editorial than it is in the advertising, but it's still heavy in the advertising. Personal projects show everyone what it is that A, you love to shoot, and B, how you like to shoot. Because showing somebody a coffee pot that you did for J.C. Penney's is not, it's not a very personal thing. And I think these days and age, right now, this day right now, I think it's kind of expected if you're a commercial photographer, you know how to shoot a coffee pot. If you get to the point where you're hanging out a shingle and you're taking jobs, shooting a coffee pot shouldn't be a big issue for you. But training your lens onto something that's unique or something that's ever changing or something that you find very exciting, this gives them an idea of how you think. And like I say, a little bit more in editorial. I think in editorial, doing a personal project is absolutely vital. In advertising, I think it's vital as well, but probably 50% more for you, because if you spend a year in the studio shooting coffee pots, you really want to hurt yourself. So this is a way for you to get yourself out there. And like I say, a personal project could be something very short, or it could be something you work on for years. I remember seeing a photograph of a man and holding his baby infant. I saw this in a little town in Oklahoma, a very small town in Oklahoma, in the photographer's showroom. He had a big, I wasn't in, it was closed, but I was looking through the window at this big mat, and he had these 5x7, 6x9 somethings right there in a row. And he had 21 of them. And the pictures were gentlemen standing next to a tree, and holding a little infant, and the tree was about this tall. And then the last one was he and his 21-year-old daughter standing right in front of the tree, and the tree had a really big trunk around it. Now, that was a photographer who saw an idea right at 21 years before that last photograph was done and carried it out. It's not something we can do. We can't go back in time. I can't go back and decide I want to do pictures of my firstborn or my thirdborn or my second. I can't do it. But there are those among us who think of these things and get this stuff done. So that's a 21-year effort, personal project. Same little creek. You can see that the time had worn the creek down a little bit. It grown the tree a lot, and she grew up every year. She's just a little bit bigger girl. Can you imagine having that piece of art in your room, in your house, of you and your kid? How freaking cool would that be? And I've also seen projects done in a simple day. I remember seeing a personal project of a fly fisherman. The photographer was invited to go fly fishing with this guy, and he basically shot the day and turned it into a personal project that was very successful on his website, Adventure Outdoors Photographer. And he had this great fly fisherman essay, early in the morning, packing up at night, and everything in between, tying the flies and the whole bit. One day out in the wilderness. So whatever it is yours. So I wanted to show you a few, and then I'm hoping that you guys have something you want to share with me, some of your own projects that you're working on. I wanted to share a couple that I got off of a photo editor that I really like. Let's get over here. This is a photographer shooting an abandoned, I think it's a abalone farm. Oh yeah, abalone. It's an abandoned abalone farm. And he just spent some time there and photographed it and ended up with this pretty interesting little study of this old abalone farm. And like I say, I don't care what it is that you shoot. Whatever it is should hold your interest. But he was fascinated by the shapes, the sizes, the colors, the textures, everything. That was very, very cool. This is Greaves Photography, Fred Greaves, fredgreaves.com. Kevin Arnold did these aerials of it's called the Tombstone Theory series. I don't believe this is Tombstone, Arizona. I'm pretty sure it's not, but it's somewhere with Tombstone. So he did these aerials. Notice the careful collection or selection of color, shape, light, everything. It's really, really a lovely series. Okay.
Still on it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with?
Strange. And then this one by this is Ryan Shude, and he basically it's called Out and About. So when he takes his camera with him and he sees something fun in the little town where he lives or where he's visiting or whatever, he just shoots it. And so it's a potpourri of images taken while just basically out and about. And this is Barbara Leaves, I believe. No, it's a barbershop. Camarena. Levels Barbershop is what it is. Levels Barbershop. And how many times he went to the barbershop, I don't know. But look, he got this wonderful little great essay here about barbers. Now, commercial photographers can do the same thing. You don't have to go out and do this, I guess, semi-photojournalism. You don't have to do that, but you could do the same thing with bottles, beers. Maybe if you're a photographer in a town where there's a lot of craft beer, shoot a can of craft beer, all the different craft beers in your town, and do something cool with those. So commercial can do the same thing as well. It doesn't really matter. It's the fact that you're showing somebody what you do. This is the barbershop. This is the kind of work that he does normally, which is looks like a little bit of celebrity, a lot of color and stuff. We go back to Ryan. If we look at his work, it's very different than what we saw. A lot of setup shots, a lot of big set shots. Kevin Arnold, lifestyle, not mountains, lifestyle. And Greaves, commercial, all kinds of stuff. So the fair, a lot of color, as you can see, not really the kind of work that you were looking at with the abalone farm. So there's that. Then I'd share with you that's mine. Yeah, I call it Desert Solitaire. These are images from the desert around the Salton Sea. And I'm fascinated by this absolutely arid land and how everything is interconnected with water. And where water goes, life thrives, and where water doesn't, there's no life. It's pretty interesting. And the Salton Sea is a really interesting place. Tragic place. Anyway, so the little towns of the Salton Sea area. All right, so talk to me. Tell me about what you're working on. And I will give you the ability here to.
I'll start it off, Dan. It's Rick here.
Yeah, Rick.
My interest today was just what you've gone through, because understanding I should be doing more personal. I do shoot personal imagery, but I have not put it into a portfolio, a succinct portfolio. And so I'm really keen on what you've said so far and what the other guys will contribute today.
Yeah, and that the thing that makes it a personal project, I think, rather than just personal shooting, is that box you put around it.
Right.
There's a photographer named Finn Beals. His website's Made by Finn, and he has all these. Some of them are personal, some of them are job related, but he calls it 72 hours in. So he'll go somewhere for 72 hours, and those photographs that are in that project were all taken within 72 hours. So he's using a time as his box. This is it. If you shot the bridges of the Mississippi, the box is the Mississippi. You're not shooting bridges from all over. You could shoot the bridges of America, but that's again, or if you just narrowed it to bridges, could be anywhere, Singapore, etc. But you put this little box around it, and it helps your brain contain those images and the way that you're presenting them. So whatever you do,
that's key, because I think about there are certain things I like to shoot. Some abandoned homesteads, or I live out here in the prairies, so the grain elevators that are disappearing. But I put a box around it, and created that portfolio of a personal project. No, and that's an insight here today. So thank you.
You bet. Who else?
Last one add-on, if I may, because you kind of alluded to it in terms of time. We all get busy, maybe in what pays us and
Yeah.
Any comments on how much time you devote to your personal projects? And it's probably how long is a piece of string, I guess. But.
I think you hit the answer right there. As long as if it's an open-ended project, like a long time ago, 30 years ago, I started shooting the little plaster animals that people would put in front of their houses and their businesses. You know, the plaster cow in front of the butcher down on Central Avenue, and then the ducks that you would have. And I shot that for probably 6-8 years, ended up with about 90 pictures. Looking back, they're not all that great, but at least I did something for a while, and I ended up with this collection of images. May do something with them someday. But if it's just a day, you know, like my friend who went fly fishing, then it's just a day. But it's up to us on that project to somehow put that box, maybe it's regional, it's time relative, it's subject relative. It's up to us to call it quits. We've done it. Now, and maybe there's a lot more beers to shoot in your town. Maybe you've shot 50 and you're ready to move on. Then 50 is it. That's it. And you move on to the next project. As long as you're enjoying it, shooting it, and it's not a drudgery, or you'd never want to do a drudgery where it's like, oh crap, I got to go shoot beers for this. Oh, screw that. You've been done. You're done. Just let it go. Move on to the next one.
Don, may I share?
Yes, you are allowed to share.
I have a collection of barns, and the started collection, and this is a long time, going on for probably more than 5 or 6 years since I started it. And I started photographing barns because they're to me, they're very pretty, and they're always alone, and they're always accompanied by a tree. And it depends on the time of day they look better. But I started this project, and it's called Passing By. And I have the rule, and that's my own rule,
Mm-hmm.
of none of these photographs have been taken outside my car. I do not stop. The car is passing by in the car when Derek is driving, and I have the camera, and we pass the barns, and I shoot. So I
Okay.
have to shoot fast. I have to shoot sometimes with flash, sometimes at slow speed. It doesn't matter. It depends at different times of the day. So, and I have a collection of similar bars. Sometimes it's the same bar shooting in different times of the day,
Mm-hmm.
different angles, depending of what side direction I was going. And I've been collecting these photographs of barns that I hope eventually I can get. I have probably more than 40 pictures, but really editing the collection, hopefully to have at least 40 pictures
Yeah.
documented. And it's barns from Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. That's it.
Cool.
Because those
Very
are the
cool.
ones that are different, and the barns are different. And Ohio has a different style of barns than Kentucky and Indiana. Because you can see the difference among the barns. You can identify that this is an Ohio barn, this is an Indiana barn, this is a Kentucky barn. It's kind of a nice project. It's very dear project of mine. I guess it has grown on me since that time. And every
Cool.
time that I go out, I take the camera, and it's time to photograph. And sometimes if I am stuck on the house and I have the gear to let's go out, I tell Derek, and I said, take me out to photograph bones.
10
Because
years ago, I was in Ohio, Kentucky border. I think it was Ohio, Kentucky border. And we were surrounded by corn. We drove 12 miles down this road, and it was just a canyon of corn. And every mile there'd be one going that way, one going that way. And then we got to some hill country. And there's a town. It's known for it anyway. Whatever the town was, Red Bluffs.
yes,
Red Bluffs. Where is that?
Red Canyon.
No, not Red Canyon. Something Bluffs. Anyway, there was a guy there speaking at the little photo thing, and he said over 200 barns a month are torn down. in the
Yeah.
US, 200 barn. And the people were gasping. It was like, oh my God, these are incredible. And he said, go out and shoot them, you know, because, you know, it makes sense for the farmer. I mean, it's sad for us because all those barns were so cool, but they're wood and they're rotting and they're just terrible upkeep for the farmers. So they put up the steel ones and, you know, that's great. So I can't
Well,
fault them
you
for
see a
that.
lot in Kentucky. You see the barns that are going like this, like
Yeah.
on all sideways. They're
Yeah.
about to fall apart, and so I normally like to photograph the ones that are almost falling apart. And there's some barns that you just eventually love to have because you know it's there. There's a little tiny barn, tiny, probably 3x4s, little tiny. And every time that I go to Columbus to the photo store, MPEX, I photograph it. I know exactly where it is, and so I always prepare my camera ready to go. So I had several pictures of that little tiny farm and different lighting conditions. It was very cool.
Were you going to show? Were you going to share?
I can share it. Give me,
You're muted.
I can pull it out real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. While you're doing that, we'll see if anyone else wants to chat real quick. Yeah, pull it out and
That's
share.
it.
Who else? Who else is working on a project?
Well, I have one done, which is in the making. The ambition is to photograph and document 20 patients with cerebral palsy, pediatric patients. I used to be a pediatric neurologist, and so I'm quite familiar with their condition and their particular disabilities. So I've had, so far I've had a run in here in December with the first shoot, and that was quite successful with an 11-year-old child with cerebral palsy. And we spent a good, I think, almost 3 hours together photographing him. And so that's a good start. And I asked the mom to allow me to introduce me to his school, and which has also physical therapy and
I
that
don't
sort
have
of thing.
barns here.
Go ahead, Henrik. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the idea is to photograph, portraits and environmental portraits of him doing his thing, if you like, and also displaying, what sort of remedies does he have to help him with his disability? Does he have a wheelchair? Does he have braces or splints or what have you? So the whole collection would encompass about 20 pediatric patients, 0 to 18 years, with this particular condition. And the target is really a photo book. It would be containing a medical text for the ordinary person, describing the disorder and what sort of things you can expect. And then for each individual patient would be an individual chapter with perhaps 10 images and some text describing what is the particular problems of this child is having. So I hope to sort of circle around the whole sphere of disability that surrounds this particular condition. So at this point, I've teamed up with an art photographer who's quite successful in his work, and he's coaching me on the process.
Okay.
And one of the ideas is, he facilitates, getting things ready for the printer, and he knows all the little details in that. So it should be streamlined pretty much. I feel quite hopeful that we will get funding, because it's printing a book is going to be extremely expensive, I think. We're probably talking in the order of $30K dollars.
I don't think I would have you print a book to sell. I think I would tell you, in all honesty, to do a print on demand.
Yeah, that would be the backup plan. The offensive strategy is really to secure the funds, and there's a huge fund that deals just with cerebral palsy in Denmark, and I think they might be interested in this, particularly with my dual background as a practicing
Sure.
photographer and as a former pediatric neurologist. So I expect that. I certainly hope that this will be a possibility. Otherwise, the backup plan obviously is print on demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The challenges of traditional book publishing today are worse than they were before, and it's never been a good thing, because
Right.
it's not the bookstores that are hard to get with the distributors. And the distributors own the access to the bookstore. So it's very, very difficult. But on print on demand, or the book as an art object, an objet d'art, is also much easier to market, for one thing, much easier to market, and quite a bit more of an item to sell. And what I'm saying when I say that is that photographers have always thought of like the print, the print, in the mat, in the frame, that's a piece of art, and a book is a commodity. Well, no, books can be a piece of art as well. So you'll look, if you're following a photo editor, some of the books that they review there are in editions of 200. That's it. They only printed 200 books.
Sure.
And they're expensive. Some of the books are $500-$600. So it's the collection of the book as an art piece rather than a commodity. Because if it's a commodity, again, if you can get the funding to get into the distributor, getting a publisher will be no problem if you've got a distributor. If you've got a distributor, the publisher will go, yeah, I'll do it, because they know he can get it in the stores. But that'll be your challenge, Henrik.
Yeah.
Very cool. That sounds great.
Thanks.
Yeah. Who else? Who else working on a personal project? Want to share? Make the rest of us just green with envy.
Hi, Dawn. It's Veronica.
Hi, Veronica.
I have had this one idea in my head, and it's just a one image idea right now. And it's called, I already have a title. It's called Bitches Night Out. And it is female dogs sitting around a poker table playing poker, but they're dressed up and their poker chips are diamonds and they have martini glasses, things like that. But I've had that for a couple of years. I just haven't been able to execute it. I think I will be able to do it when I move, because my new place has, it's a lot larger where the studio is going to be. It has vaulted ceilings. I have opportunities to really have movement and space to be able to do that. Okay. So that's one project. The other project is, it's a video project. Even though I don't know how to do it, I'm just going to try and learn and get it done. My father is 90 years old, And I have reached out to my cousins and his sister-in-law and his sisters to have some interview prompts so that I can interview him and video him about his life and
Sure.
how he grew up and his experiences and adventures and things like that. That's really just a personal project that I would share with my, my family. Also, in this current stage of life, his wife, who is 15 years younger, has Alzheimer's. So I want to be able to ask him ask him questions to find out how he's dealing with that and type of stuff. I'll have better formulated questions, when it comes
Sure.
time. But those are my two projects that are in my mind and trying to be worked on.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Both of them are fairly intimate to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
I do too. I just hope to be able to execute, especially the interview with my father, well.
There's going to be a lot of resistance. And I'm speaking of the resistance that we do to ourselves. Have you read The War of Art?
No.
Oh, it's a must read. It's by Stephen Pressfield. It's called The War of Art. He wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance, by the way, in case you're wondering who he is. He's an author, but it's called The War of Art, and he talks about resistance. Resistance is the time that you want to go write that really important thing, but none of your pencils are sharp enough, so you sharpen the pencils and you realize the desk is a mess. Well, you can't write on that messy desk, of course, so we have to clean the desk. But then the desk looks clean and the kitchen doesn't look clean, so we go clean the kitchen, and you haven't written a single word yet, even though you set out. That's resistance. And
But you think the resistance will be on my end or
yeah, there'll be resistance because it's such a personal thing. There'll be resistance where you'll think, okay, I'm going to do it today. And for some reason, something will get in your way. So what I was going to say is whenever resistance rears its ugly head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, it's subtle. It'll come in all kinds. You have to fight back and say, no, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
I feel really strongly about this, that I will be doing like some self-videoing and checking out the light, and also use my mannequin head or my dog to see how that goes, to check out that technical part. I don't feel the resistance now, but I will be aware if I find any subtleties that come up.
Yep.
And then call you and go, oh my gosh, Dawn, I have resistance.
Oh, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. Procrastination is resistance. What's that? What is it when you perfectionism is resistance? It comes in all forms and scary things. Saying what's it called? Writer's block is resistance. It's all out there. It builds up, and we just have to fight it down all the time. Good. Well,
Okay.
I look forward to seeing your shots.
I do too. Thank you.
Well, you bet. Who else?
Hi, Don.
Hey, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm actually trying to work on my portfolio. So I don't know if that is qualified as a personal project.
Sure it does.
trying-
If you don't have a portfolio and you're working on that portfolio, you have a set of images as your box. In other words, this is going to be a representation of what you are doing to the world. So that's a project for now. When the portfolio gets to a point where you say, okay, it's showable, because you never say my portfolio is finished, because it is never finished, ever. It's just to a point where you can say, okay, I can start to show it now. And then you can keep adding to it or whatever, or you can take a month off and do, desert trees for a while to clear your brain from doing all the other things and do that, or shooting your relatives. I mean, I can kick myself rest of my life, but I can't fix it. But I didn't do all the shots I wanted to do with my parents when they were alive. I didn't do them. There was always something else that came up, and then one day you can't do them.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that can be done.
I'm trying to do one shot a week, one product a week, or the next week I'm trying to do full.
Okay, are you working full time?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna beat you up right now. Okay.
Well, I'm working. I have a regular job, and in the morning, in the afternoon is when I do photography.
Okay. One shot a week is not enough.
Not enough. Okay.
Three shots. And every time you do a shot, Gerardo, every time you do a shot, you do 3 to 5 shots of that shot. Let's say you're shooting my little microphone here, okay? You're going to do a shot of the microphone. Then you're going to do a detailed shot of the knob. And then you're going to do a lay flat of the microphone somehow. And then you might get your wife to come in and hold the microphone. Don't let it just be one picture. That's not enough anymore. We have to present mini series, so to speak, of this stuff. So microphone on Wednesday, Brussels sprouts on Friday, a pouring beer shot on Saturday. That's a week's worth of shooting. Anything less than that, it's too sluggish. Get it, and they don't all have to be huge, Gerardo. They don't. They could be a pen on the back porch on a piece of tile with great sunlight. And you go, oh, that's really cool. If it's a beautiful shot, it can go in your portfolio. Absolutely. They don't, just because you didn't have to set up the lights and move the stands around does not mean it's not a portfolio worthy shot. So yeah, keep focused, man.
Hey, thanks. That's really, really great advice. Thank you.
What my new mantra is? Focus, stack your life. Focus, stack your life. Don't let anything get out of focus, baby. Everything's important all the way back. All right, who else? So this will probably, I think probably the men out there will laugh when I tell you this. You know those worthless piece of papers that come in stuff when you buy stuff that says like instructions and some of that bullshit? Like we're never gonna read that crap. Are you kidding? Right? I just found out the camera I bought a year and a half ago has built-in focus stacking. Just last night on the internet. I went, say what? Went over, got the camera, came over, started playing with it. I'm like, oh my God. So that's going to be fun. Now the camera's old and they've got a new model out, which by the way, does 120 frames, 120 frames slow motion. So I'm thinking, oh, I might want to get that. All right. Who else?
Don, did I hear you say you were considering yet another camera?
He probably did.
Gene, are you there?
I am. I am.
If you're there, Gene, we cannot hear you. If you were asking
That's
to
sad.
I can hear. You
jump in
can't
here,
hear,
we
Gene.
cannot hear you.
I can
All right.
hear.
I can hear.
That's because Don doesn't want to hear the question.
Put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat. Yeah, I can hear fine.
Here you go.
No. Something I'd heard about before.
She says that, did she hear you contemplated
There's
an
a place
idea
called
of buying a new
Influx.
camera?
No.
It's all right. I don't know. If Don's the only one that can't hear
Am
me.
I considering buying another camera? No. The rule I have is I would have to sell this one first and then buy the new one. I'm not going to buy another camera. No, Gene, thank you for catching me on that.
Well, you know, you're camera conscious
I have
over here.
plenty old cameras.
Keeping you honest.
Yes, I do.
There you go. So I think I'm gonna
I
go
have
out
far
and
more
try coming
cameras
back.
than I
'Cause-
have time to go and photograph, but we're working on that as well. So
Here you go. I'll be back.
who else wants to share? Somebody? Nobody? Come on,
Right.
guys.
I'll do it,
Gotta
Doug.
be somebody out there with something to share.
I'll go. I've got,
Or at least
did
just
this-
chat about it.
I did this
Lauren,
one.
are you, if
Can
you're
you hear-
talking, we cannot hear you, sir.
Can you hear
I see a
Lauren?
microphone by your
I can hear
by
you,
your
Mark.
face.
Oh, I think it's
So
on
I don't know
Don's
what that
end.
means, but there's no mic there.
I think it's on your end, Don.
It's Dawn.
Yeah.
Mark, what are you working on?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
No,
hear.
Dawn.
Uh-oh, I'm not getting any audio from any of you guys.
Well, there you go. Then it's a Dawn issue. I
All
feel
right, so what's going on here? So it's me,
You,
huh?
Dawn?
I can't hear you guys. Let's go up here.
Who was talking
Okay.
to Dawn before I went?
All right.
Somebody else? Okay.
Somehow,
Lauren was talking to Don.
yeah,
Also,
somehow
Veronica.
my audio settings just went to 0 on my computer. I don't know
Can
how
you hear
that
us
happened.
now?
Can you hear us now?
Huh?
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Well, he must, because
Okay.
we got a huh.
Okay.
All right, Dawn. I can tell you what I'm working on trying to get files from trips into actual pictures. I've got a whole bunch of unprocessed pictures from a trip to Maine that I did in 2010 that I haven't even gotten processed yet. So my project is trying to actually get these files into real files. I have a bunch of different pictures from this trip that I took to Maine. And then I also like to do panoramas. So I
Mhm.
have a bunch of pieces of photographs here that I need to process together and turn into panos.
Uh-huh.
And just, I probably have 1,000 pictures in here that I need to actually,
Now there's a little lighthouse. Spent
Yeah.
all day
I've
at
been
that
there.
lighthouse.
I have probably 3/4 of the lighthouses on the coast from this trip. I spent an entire week sleeping in the car. But then
You gotta be
one of
you
the-
gotta be careful with those lighthouses. So we heard about this lighthouse from some damn fool in a restaurant. He goes, "Oh yeah, there's this lighthouse, and here's what you do." We parked the car, and we put our cameras into backpacks. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I am not a backpacking photographer. Okay, that just reminds me too much of being in the Army. Sorry, I don't want to carry my stuff, but we did. And we went over the top of this ridge, and we went down the other side, and then we went over another ridge and down, and there was the lighthouse. It was 6 feet tall, a little concrete thing, 6 feet tall with a light in it. I was just,
That was fun.
yeah. They'll make a great story sometime, but oh man. I think my favorite thing of the whole trip was when I asked Charles, we were standing there, and we were standing there right on the water there in Maine, and I said, "This is so beautiful. I wonder what the elevation is here." He said, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "You don't know? You don't know the elevation?" He goes, "No, let me get my iPhone out." So he gets his iPhone, and he didn't have services. I don't know. I said, "You ever hear of sea level?" I'm just saying.
one of the
I'm
things
mentioning it because we're friends.
I have this panoramic that I made of Bath, the town that I'm from.
Yep.
And this is the resolution on it's 37,000 by 3244. So if you take the picture and actually blow it up to was 100%, you can. And this is downsized from the original file.
I
So I want to print this off.
I've been there in Bath. Go to the side a little bit.
I had some meal in Bath
Building
on
right
my way
here?
to,
The building
Uh-huh.
with the chapel on the top of it.
yeah.
Right there.
That one to the left of it. You see that red there? I held a workshop in that building.
How cool is that?
This one right here.
No, the one just to the left of it. You can just see the top of it's a gray building with a little, yeah, right there in that building there. Yep. Held a workshop in there.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yep. This is our little town.
I drove through it long enough to have a meal on my way to another lighthouse.
And then I have.
Did you go to Peggy's Cove? Oh no, that's in Halifax.
And then I have this one here, Cadillac Mountain. This one's 21,000.
Yeah, I was on top of Cadillac Mountain for the sunrise.
I have another picture in here somewhere that I took where I looked to the right-hand side and it's 100 feet of photographers standing there taking pictures of the sunrise.
I don't think there was any place in Maine more crowded than Cadillac Mountain.
Bar Harbor and Cadillac Mountain for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is at 100%. So, I mean, you can, my idea was to be able to print these things off. This one's 22,000. It's not very pretty because of the time of year that I was up there, but.
It looks like
At
you got
100%.
some good shots, Mark. You ought to consider about, just scheduling out some time during the day or during the week. I mean, scheduling out some time. And so for those 2 hours on Thursday, maybe it takes you 4 months to do it, but every Thursday for 2 hours, you go through here and you make some calls and get them into a pre-edit folder. And then you go back 2 months later and you do the final edit, do the post-processing and get them into some form of whatever,
Yeah, I've got so many pictures in here I need to get processed. And that's what I was saying. I know I've got enough in here. I could make a book and have prints for sale. I just need to take the time to do it.
Yep. Yeah. And another thing, by the way, folks, a book doesn't mean 80 images. You can do a book with 20 pictures. You can seriously do a book with 20 pictures. Doesn't have to be huge. There are no rules anymore to that type of stuff at all. Very nice, Mark.
Thank you.
Duck is here. Duck, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah. How are you, sir? Oop, let me fix my video here. I'm going nuts
Duck
there.
He's a
There we
ghost.
go.
Do a what did we decide on our Lightroom presentation, right? Was that what it was? No, what was it?
No, it was for the Find Photo Clients Now.
Yeah.
I think it was a system for keeping track of your cold calls and your
Oh, right,
contacts and things
right.
like that.
Systemizing
So-
your who you're chatting at.
Right.
We're going to do that in February.
Yes. So, this conversation is interesting to me because of several things. For one, my whole life, my whole career, I should say, has always been commercial, meaning I've always been producing either artwork or design or photography for clients.
Mhm.
So I've always been in that mentality, so that whenever I do anything for myself, I kind of internalize it, and it's like it tends to be very private, even though they're not really private images, So when I hear about these photographers who are doing these fantastic private projects and just blowing it out of the water, it kind of makes me a little envious and a little jealous they can do this. But listening to your talk today, it just made me realize that maybe it's just I need to pull that switch in my head
Mhm.
and change my way of thinking.
Yeah.
Because when I look at the catalog of private work that I have, I don't share it with the public really. I make prints for my house.
Mhm.
I definitely put them up as wallpaper for my desktop. So I'm constantly looking at my own work, and it's interesting because I have some photography friends who have these marvelous projects. You know, Shine Gonzalez out of the UK, she photographs the homeless and puts it into a blog. And she's been, you know, interviewed for various magazines and, you know, bringing attention to the homeless plight, you know. So she has that slant to her private projects that, you know, there's an altruistic factor to it, you know. So I think what I've been doing in the past is kind of comparing myself to that. And I said, well, I'm not at that level, but listening to, you know, what some of these people here are doing, and it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be at that high level. It doesn't have to be,
Doesn't have to be
you know,
at all.
change the world level, you know.
So I know
So
you're
I'm
you're a commercial people and product photographer, right? Am I right?
mostly product.
Mostly product. Okay.
Yeah.
Between 85 and 95, I think I may have shot less than 100 pictures for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because I was shooting 6-7 days a week. The studio literally ran 7 days a week. Darkroom guys would be in on the weekends. We'd have a crew come in and painting the floor and the cyc and everything. It was just madhouse. And after spending 10 hours or 12 hours in the studio shooting towels or catalog crap for Nordstrom's or Diamonds or Broadway or something, there wasn't a whole lot of time left to do my own thing. And I justified it by saying, well, you know, I'm doing this. I need to do this for my book and keep my business. I could justify, see that. And Veronica, that's resistance. Resistance can come up with every justification on the face of this planet for not doing something. And then just before 2000, when I was getting the ad agency going, I didn't have that many photo clients because I was starting an ad agency. And I started to shoot a little bit for myself. And you know what it was, Duck? It was scary. It's like, I don't have a layout. I don't have I don't have a shot list. Yeah, I'm going to go up to the Grand Canyon. Where's my shot list and my treatment? You know, it's like,
oh my God,
yeah,
you know,
there is
you hit it on a nail. And it's funny because I am very much the same way, you know, and I do a lot of teaching in my area. There aren't very many, you know, photographers that kind of take the amateur groups in the area under the wing. I happen to be one of them in my area. So I find that when I shoot for myself, it's always kind of geared into like a teachable experience. And I think, you know, it's that making excuses. I'm famous for making excuses and not to do things.
I'm better than you are.
Myself.
I'm better than you are.
But if I have it for somebody else, I'm okay with it. You know? So I kind of wrap this, well, you know, I need to do this in order to have something that I can teach with, you know. But
we're just bullshitting ourselves. What it is
very much.
I realized much later, but looking back on that time, I realized that I was almost afraid to go and shoot for myself because I didn't know if I'd have anything to say. I mean, I didn't know. It's like, I thought, you know, after nearly 20 years behind a view camera shooting, you know, towels. I mean, I did some fashion and beauty work for some of those years, and those were fun. But even then, I always ask myself, I care so much today about what this shot looks like of the girl in the bouffant hair with the really wide belt, you know, and the little flat shoes, which was very 1984. And I knew that in 1986, that picture wasn't worth nothing. Nobody, who wanted that? Nobody wearing wide belts. And I thought, photographically, I'm just wasting my art doing stuff that didn't matter. It mattered at the time, If you're shooting product, you got to have, you got all your lights on and you're making sure this is square and on. It matters for that, but it didn't matter to me. I thought, what's my legacy going to be? A portfolio of shots for the, the Broadway, and that's what made me start getting back out. Cause I didn't start that way. And I know you didn't either.
But yeah,
Didn't
you're right.
start out in the studio shooting other people's junk. We started out with this passion to make photographs, and then it turned into a business. And I think the business for me just took me over way too much. And I was very happy when I was able to pick up the camera and go do something for myself. And there was a transition of a couple of years before I really thought was doing anything. I mean, I'd feel lost.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, and you kind of touched on it, is creating something that you feel has worth. And when you're creating, photography for a client, it definitely has worth. But when I go out and photograph for myself, I don't get that same feeling that it's worth something, because it's only worth something to me, but that somehow feels hollow. I have to feel like it has value to somebody else. And that's what I'm missing, so.
You're still making the transaction. Eventually, I think you will come to understand that the value that you create when you make that photograph does mean something to someone else. For instance, we all know that we're the only species on the planet that know we're going to die. No other animal on the planet knows that. They live in ignorant bliss, right?
Yeah.
And it was explained to me this weekend by a beautiful writer, and he said, the day you start dying is the day you're born, because every second that you are on this planet, every second goes, that second just of us talking 3 seconds ago is dead. That's death. It's gone. It cannot be recovered. And you just always constantly moving towards that thing. The fact that you made it, the fact that you created it, gives it value. We are, as Gary Vaynerchuk says, the odds of us being us are 1 in 750 million. Because we could have been a rock, we could have been a snail, we could have been a leaf. We ended up being us. The fact that we are that unique means we should leave something. I know that when we go, I don't think our families are going to gather around that portfolio of product shots or fashion shots I did in 1984 and go, wow, I sure miss. No, they're going to be stuff that you did now, that you're doing now. Yeah. And that's your legacy. It's the personal work that becomes your legacy, And if you don't feel you have anything to say right now, keep shooting. You will, especially with your attitude to helping people. You will. It's there. I guarantee it.
Yeah, well, I have a large collection of images that mean a lot to me, but probably not much to anybody else.
Yeah. Well,
I'm okay with that. I really am.
I got a box of Polaroids out there that weighs probably 40 pounds, full of Polaroids over 20 years of shooting fashion and glamour and that stuff. Models who are grandmothers now and stuff like that. I could pull them out. They don't mean anything because I didn't shoot anyone famous, but they're fun to have, but that's not a legacy. My legacy is the stuff hopefully I did last year and the year before and that type of stuff. So I just realized it was 5 years ago that I rode my motorcycle through Glacier National Park, and man, that took me, I thought it was 3 years ago and it was 5. I'm like, oh my God, time is moving by really fast. Every year you're on the planet, if your life is a pie, every year you're on the planet, the slice of the pie gets smaller, smaller, and smaller.
You ain't lying.
It goes by so fast. I remember when you were 20 and someone said, yeah, you can do that next year. And you thought, next year?
Oh, that's so far away.
God. Now it's like, oh, next year, piece of cake. No swat. I can, blink, we'll be there. All right. Anybody else have anything? Thanks everybody for coming out. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get some good notes from Sid, and we'll find out he's feeling better and can join us next week. And don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but watch it and we'll get something. If you all have an idea of what you'd like to discuss on next Friday or the Friday after that or whatever, just tag me on Facebook and say, here's an idea for a topic, Don. Let's do this. I'm totally open to it. You know, I do not have I have no idea what we'll talk about next week. So it's not like I have an editorial calendar anywhere, folks. I just love talking about photography with photographers. I think it's fun. All right, everybody, have a great one. We'll
Bye,
see you
Don.
next time.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don.